So guys, today in this video, basically I'm just going over a few tips to help your gargoyles grow a little faster. Now, ultimately, it does come down to your husbandry, which you should be able to, find in care sheets and that type of stuff. But these are the three main factors that I've found that helps really contribute to their growth. The first thing is a proper sized enclosure. This is really important because you don't want to have a super small animal that isn't a huge enclosure. It makes it much more difficult for them to find their food, especially if you just have one little bowl hanging out there. What else a proper size enclosure does is it helps reduce their stress. When their stress is reduced, then they're going to be more likely to be out and about and exploring and to be able to find that food. You know, if you have a tiny little baby and a huge enclosure, then not only is it going to be difficult to find it, but chances are it's not going to want to, go out and about that much, just because it's going to feel vulnerable if it's tiny in this huge open space. So that's the number one important thing, is a proper size enclosure. Second important thing is the temperature. This probably contributes the most to how fast they grow. They do live at a pretty wide range of temperatures. However, the higher you keep them, the faster their metabolism is. What you want to do is in the higher 70s is really the best place to do that, where between, let's just say, like 76 to 80 degrees. You want to be careful. You don't want to go above 80 just because that can be harmful to them. But if you can maintain it, at about 78 degrees, you're really gonna explode their growth and their metabolism. So if you're able to do that, more power to you. I know sometimes it's hard for people depending on what their setups are like, where they live, that type of stuff. But if you're able to maintain a safe temperature in the higher 70s, that's really gonna make a big difference to how fast they grow. Now, the third thing is their feeding. This is obviously an important thing, because if they don't eat or eat right, they aren't going to grow no matter what the other two things are. So number one important thing is obviously a proper diet, making sure that you're using these formulas that people have put time into researching and creating for these animals, unless you have experience creating your own diet. But easiest way is to just go out and buy the powder diets, Pangea, Repashy, things like that. That's going to be your best bet for having a quality diet. And then also, if you're going to feed insects, which if you want them to grow faster, then you'll have to, is to properly gut load those insects as well. So that way they have as much nutrition in them as possible. A little hack, I guess you can call it, is whenever, say if one of your gargs never finished their Pangea fully and it's dried out in the food bowl, if you take that and put it in the enclosure with the insects, they will eat the leftover Pangea. So basically, obviously you want to feed them other things as well to get the most nutrition in those insects, but also you can throw that leftover Pangea in your insect containers. Now your insects are loading up on the exact same diet that your geckos are eating. So then when the geckos go to eat the insects, they're getting, the right nutrition that those geckos need. So that's an important thing for your little tip if you're feeding insects. But whenever you are, talking about their diet, you want to make sure you stay consistent. That way, you aren't feeding one day this week, 2 days next week. You want to have a consistent schedule. My schedule is Pangea or any, powder diet on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So I feed them 3 days a week. That way I set that up in my schedule as well, because it does take some time to feed when you start having a couple. That way, on those 3 days, I know work and life schedule, it works with the feeding, so there's no excuse on my end for not to do it. And then also, it helps me stay consistent, so I know what day. I'm not thinking like, oh, did I feed them 2 days ago, or how long was it? That way I know Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm consistently feeding them on those days. And then also on Saturdays or Sundays is when I feed insects as well, just because that takes some time too. So I like to do that on the weekend because I have a little bit of extra time. So that's when I'm feeding the insects as well. So I'm feeding the powder diet 3 times a week and the insects one time a week. That just what works for me. Obviously, people might have other feeding schedules, or sometimes schedules work better with your life, your schedule. However, I would just say the biggest takeaway is just stay consistent, have a game plan on when you're going to feed them, and stick to that no matter, if you're tired, or, if you just want to go to bed, or you got a bunch of stuff going on, you got to make sure you make that time and stay disciplined on that. So that's a really important thing. So those 3 tips right there are something that will really help to contribute to how fast your gargs are growing. Now, at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can do, because what else plays a role into it is their genetics. So it's always important to buy healthy, quality babies, because that can help contribute to their growth as well. But if one is growing slow, don't stress too much. As long as you're staying consistent with their husbandry, their feeding, temperatures, things like that, you're doing all that you can. The next thing is just let it go and let Mother Nature take its course. Eventually they're going to get to where they need to be. Sometimes it takes a year to get the 50 grams. I've seen it happen. Sometimes it takes them 3 years. So either way, it's all good. As long as they're healthy, that's all that matters. As long as you stay consistent, you're doing what's right for them. And the last update in this video is, so this week, I will be getting the first shipment in. I should be getting 2 others over the next few weeks. This week is going to be the newer species that I'm going to get. Like I was saying before, they're a little bit uncommon, but I always thought, seeing pictures and stuff, that they are really cool. So something that I wanted to do. They aren't the most expensive or anything like that. I just thought they were a cool species. And then the second thing, this boy right here, Magma, I got another set of fertile eggs from him. Chances are it's going to be the last clutch of fertile eggs that he will be the dad of for this year, but next year is going to be, there's going to be a decent amount from him, I'm hoping. But those eggs should be hatching within the next 100 days. And I also have another one incubating as well. The female that he was with, it was her first year. So, things didn't play out as I hoped them. Because, whenever she laid a couple, they ended up going bad, or she laid a few duds. It happens when it's a female's first year. But this boy will be having, fingers crossed, 3 babies from that female right there. And he was paired with another one. She just hasn't laid anything, so I'm gonna scratch that. It's all good though. I'm in no rush for these, but really excited. So I should have 3 babies from him. The first set should hatch within the next 45 days. The second set should hatch within the next 100 days. So I will definitely give you guys an update on whenever those babies come out and what they look like as well. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this video brought you some value. And if you do want to stay up to date with the collection, then make sure to give me a follow on Instagram at RedRack. And if you ever want to reach out and talk, you can reach me there. That's probably the best spot. I still have a Facebook that I don't really use that much, but I have some other pictures that I don't have on my IG posted there. So if you want to go check it out, go for it. But thanks again, guys. If you have any suggestions, questions, anything like that, drop it in the comments, or shoot me a message on Instagram.